Okay, I've had a few requests for a video on this guitar, so just wanted to talk a little bit about the finer details of this one, why I use it as my main guitar, and why I like the overall design of the Telecaster Deluxe in general as well. From the serial number, I think this is a 1975 Telecaster Deluxe, so a couple of years after they released them in '73. I got it in 2008, and at the time I was doing a lot of indie rock playing. I've just started teaching a bit of guitar, and I was doing the pub rock covers band circuit as well. So I wanted something that could do standard rock stuff, but was also pretty versatile. The Mexican reissues that Fender sold at the time looked fine, but for something that I was going to use as my main guitar, I was looking for something a little bit more unique, you know. I saw this one and it hadn't been messed with too much, apart from the wear on the finish, which I kind of liked the look of, and it helped me get it for a reasonable price. The Telecaster Deluxe is a pretty odd mishmash of designs, really. You know, it's a Stratocaster neck with Gibson style pickup configuration on a Telecaster body. And it goes a little bit deeper than that, and one of the most interesting things I find about it is the finer details of the pickups and the electronics. While at first I thought Fender wide range humbuckers were more or less just like any other humbucker, you know, just with Fender packaging, they are a little bit different, especially if you use them with the 1 meg volume and tone pots that the originals came with. To me, they're a bit brighter, clearer and open sounding than my other humbucker guitars. If you play it with the guitar controls all the way up, they can be incredibly bright and attacking. You know, if you play the guitar like that with the controls all the way up and expect it to sound smooth and warm or something like that, you might be in for a shock. But once you get used to using the volume and tone controls, you do realise most of the other more typical, slightly smoother humbucker sounds are in there. So for instance, I often play with the volume controls just backed off a little bit, set to about 9. That way, that bright attack is just softened a little bit, you know, it's a slightly smoother sound. Lowering the tone controls is useful, especially for like warming the sound of the bridge pickup, but I use it a lot for the neck pickup as well if I want a more traditional jazz tone or something. And I can always raise the volume controls back to 10 for a little volume and presence boost if I want it. So while a lot of people, I think, when they first play a guitar like this might not like it right away, I find it does have a lot of versatility. Mine seems to handle high gain just fine. The pickups did squeal initially a little bit just when I first got it, so I got them wax potted, which in hindsight I probably shouldn't have done to vintage pickups like this, but you know, it's done now, and as a result, I think they do sound pretty good with high gain. The neck has a 9.5 radius with medium-sized frets, which just makes it a little bit easier to do string bends and more modern playing styles in comparison to, say, a 50s Strat or Tele. The bridge is a hardtail Strat style bridge. I've replaced the saddles on this one just because the original saddles were getting so worn out and they were creating a lot of string buzz and things like that. I was having to sand them down sometimes. So rather than mess with them, I thought it was best to just replace them with modern steel versions that kind of look the same, and they sound really good to me, so I've been using those. The Telecaster body has a Strat style belly cut, which just makes it a little bit more comfortable than your average Telecaster body. And if you ever want to know whether a Telecaster Deluxe is an original from the 70s or not, then a good thing to look out for on the body is the slightly chunkier cutaway on the bass side, which on all the originals I've seen are on the 16th fret, rather than the more standard modern 17th fret. Just something to look out for if you're not sure whether a Telecaster Deluxe is an original from the 70s or not. The ash body on this one is pretty heavy, which I think is typical for 70s Fenders, and the neck joint is pretty sloppy as well. I've just gotten into the habit of cranking the neck up towards me before I tune up, just to make sure it's aligned properly. I probably could get a shim to, you know, stop that happening and things, but I'm just used to it now. It doesn't really bother me. Finish on this one is kind of interesting. The neck seems to be finished mostly in a modern polyurethane finish, apart from the front of the headstock, which looks like it's been coated in an overspray of nitrocellulose, and that's why a lot of these often have the darker looking headstock compared to the rest of the neck. The body looks like a modern poly undercoat, but the top coat is definitely some sort of nitrocellulose. I don't know whether that top coat is original or not, because everything I look at online seems to say that the bodies were finished in all polyurethane, like some poly finish anyway. And I don't know what this guitar has been through to make it check so drastically as well. I think it looks pretty cool, so it doesn't bother me. The only thing I don't like is how sticky that old nitro finish can get on the body. It makes it really difficult to clean, and while I like the look of an old kind of worn vintage guitar, I don't like the look and feel of a dirty guitar. So I've given up trying to clean and polish it now. I'll end up just buffing through. So I just clean it with a dry cloth. But if any of you have any advice on how to clean an old sticky nitro finish, I'm all ears. So all in all, this isn't quite my dream guitar or anything. You know, it has its issues, but I do love the overall design of the Telecaster Deluxe. You know, it's got a versatile range of sounds, it's practical, I'm comfortable with it, it plays well, and I just enjoy playing it, and that I think is one of the most important things when you're choosing your main guitar, you know, that you enjoy playing it and that you feel at home with it, that you're comfortable. I think if I tried to find something that solved all my little niggles with this one, and I'd likely just find myself getting a guitar that's maybe a bit too clinical, maybe just a bit boring to play, I don't know, but I don't think there's any one perfect guitar anyway for anyone. You know, as soon as you start veering into a more specialized style, you're bound to want an instrument that is more suited to that specific style, and it's hard not to, you know, not to want that. And that's where buying some extra guitars comes in, and the whole fun of doing that. But you might not play that style or that guitar all of the time, and that's okay. Let me know what you think of the Telecaster Deluxe down in the comments, or if you have your own workhorse guitar, let us know why that works for you.